FIFA hosted their 72nd World Cup Congress on Thursday, March 31st, 2022. And the press conference, it was basically dominated by questions regarding the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Because in recent months, Russia invaded Ukraine, and there's been fighting, a lot of lives have been lost, and FIFA put sanctions on Russia. I believe that Russia was banned from World Cup competition at the moment. So a lot of questions was dominated. The conference was basically dominated by questions regarding to that. That in particular, I'm not really going to get into. I'm not well educated on that, and I'm more interested in the football side of things. So I paid more attention to the football questions, the information regarding to the game of football. So on that note, the FIFA leadership is serious about inclusion. Ever since President Gianni Infantino took over in about 2016, countries who you would have never thought would be able to host a World Cup have hosted a World Cup. You have Russia in 2018. Now you're having Qatar in this year. This is the first time, like in World Cup history, where Eastern countries are hosting World Cups in back-to-back sessions. Like, because World Cup is every 4 years. So in 2018, it was Russia, Eastern country. 2022, Qatar, another Eastern country. Usually, the countries that host it are Western countries in back-to-back sessions. But during President Infantino's time, changed. It's just, he's doing something different. And I think because he's going away from the status quo is one of the reasons why a lot of conservatives, when I say conservatives, like conservatives in the World Cup leadership, a lot of Western countries don't like that. Because we live in a world where there's a large group, there's a section of people who want to keep all the riches to themselves. There's a large group of people who don't want to see other countries, catch up to them when it comes to economic growth, economic power. Because, when it comes to economic power, your voice has a higher say in how the world operates. When you're economic power, your financial currency holds more weight, so there's a lot of people. And the president himself, he said it in his press conference. He said there's a lot of people in the Western world who got these negative perceptions about the Arabic world, and questions its ability if it can host a World Cup or not. Qatar is going to change that. That's the goal. That's the goal, is to show that an Arabic country can host a World Cup and everybody will be safe. Everything's going to be fine. And he also pointed out this one element about the dates, because, me living in the West, I really don't like the idea of the World Cup taking place in November and December. But he basically provided clarity into why that's a good thing.
And the World Cup, which is the biggest event in the world, football event, is actually played in the best season. So the players don't arrive at the World Cup at the end of a very tiring, exhausting, especially European season, and then have still to play the World Cup. They are on the peak in November, December, on the peak of their form, on the peak of their fitness, and I'm convinced we'll see also technically the best World Cup. It will be a great World Cup. It will be a unique World Cup. In terms of the legacy, I think we are already witnessing the legacy of this World Cup before even it started. In terms of the social impact it had for people, for workers here, for human rights in Qatar, in the whole Middle East. This will be very, very important, and this is one of the legacies of this World Cup. Another one, which I think is equally important, is we need occasions, especially now, to bring people together. We need opportunities to unite the world. The World Cup is uniting the world, and let's face it, we are here in Qatar, we are here in the Arab world. There is a bit of biased view by some part of the world, by part of the Western world, where I come from, towards the Arab world. Now, I think that this World Cup will be an opportunity, and I said it earlier, will be an opportunity for the Arab world, for Qatar, the whole Gulf region, to present itself to the world, to show to the world that actually, you know, that there are people living here. And you can come here and you can feel safe and you can be safe. And of course we are not the same. Of course we have different ideas, different principles, different values, maybe. But we can live together because we have to live together in this world. And this is a great opportunity for the Arab world. Equally, it's a great opportunity for the entire world to come to Qatar, to travel here, to travel in the countries around Qatar in the Gulf region, and again, to meet a new culture, to meet new people, to witness that there is a history, that there is a culture, that progress has been made. We were discussing about it earlier in terms of human rights. And that we can live and celebrate together, and especially live the same passion, which is football.
So the FIFA leadership is really serious about inclusion. And the president, and multiple times, even before this press conference that took place today, he expressed desires for inclusion and giving other countries, non-traditional Western countries, a chance to host the World Cup. But at the same time, I'm sure he's aware of the criticism and the fact that a lot of Western countries don't like, Eastern countries hosting it in back-to-back sessions, in back-to-back years, which is why I believe North America was awarded the World Cup for 2026 due to that criticism from world powers. But anyhow, the president is a trailblazer, and he's not afraid to move away from the status quo, or at least providing discussions, opening the door of discussions to doing something different. And another thing he talked about, the possibly doing something different, is moving the World Cup from a 4-year format to a 2 or 3 year format, mainly a 2-year format. Could this be due to the recent COVID pandemic? Maybe. But I also believe that under his leadership, they want to give other countries a chance to host the World Cup because there's a lot of money to be made off of this World Cup. And the World Cup is an economic boom, is an economic boost. It provides more jobs for people in the region. The country that's hosting the World Cup, it provides more jobs for people who need jobs to get jobs during that time span in that region. And it really helps boost a country's economy. And for years, Western countries who are already ahead of most of the other countries in the world, they have been hosting it. So, a lot of Western countries already have stable economies, while weaker countries, they could use that money more than Western countries. That's why I think the president wants to provide less wealthy countries an opportunity to host it. But at the same time, in defense of Western countries who don't want other countries to host it, to host the World Cup, you need strong infrastructure. You need a solid foundation, solid infrastructures, solid organizations, solid government who knows how to host and manage an event as that magnitude of the World Cup. So anyhow, a biennial World Cup won't happen, in my opinion, because domestic soccer leagues will be devalued. The domestic leagues like the Premier League and La Liga and Bundesliga, it's reported that those leagues will lose over $8 million, over 8 billion euros per year if a biennial World Cup takes place. They'll lose a lot of TV money, a lot of commercial money. So that's why something like that won't happen. A biennial World Cup won't happen. And actually, it was reported by Reuters that President Infantino, he's basically saying that he never said that he wanted it to actually happen. He's now saying that we should have discussions of how it could happen. That's basically what he's saying now. So, but honestly, it's not going to happen because if the top 5, the big 5 European leagues, if it's affecting their bottom line, it's not going to happen. the only way a biennial World Cup can happen is if the big 5 European leagues are on board and their bottom line is not affected. But overall, the biggest takeaway from the press conference, the FIFA president truly wants to prove that an Arabic country can host a World Cup without the negative perceptions coming to life. And it's just, he also just wants to give other countries a chance. Like with the biennial in general, like it provides opportunity for certain countries certain countries that typically wouldn't be able to host a World Cup to host a World Cup, like certain African countries, certain Asian countries, certain Eastern European countries. So what that's the biggest takeaway. That's the biggest takeaways. He spoke on the Russia conflict. He spoke about the World Cup being hosted in Qatar and the possibility of the World Cup being a 2-year switcher from the 4-year format to a 2-year format, which is something, in my opinion, it's just thoughts. It's just talks. No active plan is being set in place because the big 5 European leagues, which are the Premier League in England, Bundesliga of Germany, La Liga of Spain, Serie A of Italy, and Ligue 1 of France, they will lose lots of money, over $8 billion in euros, over 8 billion euros in money per season if a 2-year World Cup is set to happen. And if their bottom line is going to be affected, they're not going to be on board with it. And if they're not on board with it, it's not going to happen.
I dedicated over 10,000 hours, and I never listened to the doubters. I had to cut out all the BS, hit the refresh, now I feel so empowered. I dedicated over 10,000 hours, 10,000 hours. I dedicated over 10,000 hours.